What's going on? What is going on? I'm going to have to make some toast. Let's see how bad our errors are now. Oh, the program contains circular dependencies. That is not a helpful. Let's see if we can compile a small program. We can. Well, maybe I broke something, or maybe this is forward progress. I can't tell. I can't tell. So why don't I pop a piece of toast in the toaster? And then okay. Let's see if we can understand what is happening. Wow. I expected to see something much worse than this. So if you look at this, So the earlier pipes are the first stages of compilation, and the ones at the bottom are the last stages. And as you see, there's almost nothing in the earlier stages. And in fact, this one is typer, which is when there is a problem, it's usually here, and there's only one thing there. Well, there could be stuff sleeping, but in the input, there's only one thing. Sleepers 0. Now, why there are 14 things in the output that are getting thrown back, I don't know, but this is a much cleaner situation than I expected. So we have a run directive that is not able to run for some reason. This program is so bad. I just right-clicked and hit H, which like turns you from hexadecimal, and it like closed all my shit that I was looking at. Like, why? Why do the people working on this program think they're professional programmers? It's crazy. Okay, let me get that toast. Can I explain what happens in preload? It just contains whatever declarations of things that the compiler can't really run without. That's all. Is it possible to type def to the type of a parameter list and use that? I've thought about it, but we haven't implemented it because, I mean, it seems like a neat feature, but like, what would you really use it for? It's hard to say. Well, we get to figure out why this run directive is not ready to run. Okay, this I'm confused about. $10.24, which pipe flag is that? Where are my frickin' pipe flags? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 1024. Right. It's so stupid that we don't get the name for this, but whatever. I mean, I guess the type is U32. Oh, wait, wrong one? Must pass run before we infer. Okay, that makes sense. It makes sense. So, the question is, so this is the thing that we're waiting on, right? It's a lambda body at line 1056, which is just going to be the one. When you do a run directive, it makes a body, right? And then, so we need to see who that body depends on. It probably depends on the identifier process args, right? Which, who knows what that depends on. I don't know why our circular dependency reporter isn't telling us these things. The job of that system is to make it so I don't have to step through here and do all this stuff, but it doesn't seem to be reporting anything, and I don't know why. So that could be just a thing that we debug. Anyway, so this procedure, synonymous procedure attached, has two dependencies. This one is pipe flags 12, which I think means it's clear. 164. I hit hex. It closed all my stuff. A4. Dude, this is so, it's just so tedious to try to get this information. Like, I'm just angry at this debugger at this point. I'm really angry at it. It's like I want to spend a month building something different before I go back and try to program. I mean, it's not what I'm going to do today, but like, God, why does it make it so hard? I don't understand. So it's probably not this one. It's probably this one. I just don't know what any of these fucking flags are again. And now I don't know what they are in hex. And I don't want to toggle back to decimal or it'll close all my things. I just pasted and hit enter and the text went nowhere. It like didn't. What is going on with this program? Okay, so that's 400. This is 2, 4, 8, 10, 20, 40, 80. So 80, 8, A, hold for messaging. And then 4, this pipe build. What we shouldn't. These dependencies seem like they should both be clear. And in fact, this thing is in the output, I bet, because it wasn't in the input. But it's still in pipe infer. So let's so in the input there was 1 item. In the output there's 20 items. Whoops. Fucking. Why is it, did they release a stealth patch to this again? Like every time I do anything, it like closes now. All right, so we're looking for 8FC0. Good thing we're printing all these indices at 32-bit integers. I don't see it anywhere. Of course, I could be not seeing it. This is weird because like it says it's in pipe infer. Oh yeah, we have a dependency cursor. I forgot about this. So we cleared our dependencies. Like it's not sleeping. It passed all its dependencies. Oh. It's here. It's been a while since I did this. Okay. It's stuck on this. Identifier. Okay, now this makes sense. Now this makes sense, people. Yep, okay, process args, that's what I thought. So process args. Well, oh. Okay, so probably what's happening. So we look up process args. Okay, it's a procedure. I bet this procedure. Okay, if I were a betting person, I would say that I messed something up in that multi-import case that I just added. And we have, you know what, I think I'm an idiot. Okay, so here's the problem. If I return, because this is redundant, I need to remove the inserter. I'm not an idiot, I just made a mistake. You could spend, dude, I could have easily spent 2 more hours trying to search through nodes and debug that, but you've got to use the intuition. So the problem is, I was like, oh, just return out of here and don't do the rest of this stuff that's all involved in doing the actual namespace insertion. But one of the things that happens when we do all the namespace insertion is that we remove the inserter from the block. Okay, and actually, I think we should do this up here probably anyway, because I don't think it has to wait until after that. Debuggers are so terrible. They're so bad. All right. We got pretty far. Right? We can still do our small program too. Okay, should have already computed struct size, but didn't. That's may not have anything to do with any of the functionality that we're working on. It may just be a different bug that was exposed by all this work. Should have already computed struct size, but didn't. Let's get rid of our other breakpoints. They're slowing us down. All right. So, we're trying to initialize the size of a variable on Entity Manager, line 267. Okay. So what's going on is, this is maybe not the way I want it to work in the long term, but the way it works right now is, you know, when you have a struct and it's, you know, there's some declaration on it from another struct, we make a dependency here. And then this struct is not supposed to be able to compile unless all those dependencies clear. That's what that dependency array was that I was looking at a little bit ago. Now this doesn't have a dependency. And I think the reason is because in this whole thing, this has been a large restructuring. It's been larger than I wish it was. We changed the representation of this, and we made using its own item. And somehow, in the process of doing that, we circumvented the code that adds this dependency, which I wouldn't have thought would necessarily happen, but we did. So this should have like a, let's go look. Forget if that's, where is that? There. So if we're adding something to a block that belongs to a struct, and it's a regular old struct, we make a depend for the infer pipe. Let's just see what pipe this is in now. So this struct, God, there's so many members. Where is it? It's in there. Okay. It's in pipe size. So, oh, maybe we do have an infer dependency and we need a size dependency. Hold on. Maybe there is instruct member dependency flow. Like what? Why did I do that? PF size, PF build. Okay. So yeah, we're supposed to have a dependency that prevents us from trying to size this struct unless we have sized the other struct. And this, for some reason, is not firing. So, first of all, is this declaration being passed to that routine? Wait, where were we? Here. Let's just look at its scope entry status just because I'm curious. It's an import link. It's an import link. Okay, wait. My analysis, okay, I assumed, and you know what happens when you assume. Okay, I saw the declaration, I looked at the line number, I said, oh, it's this declaration. Okay, is not actually this declaration. It is one of the declarations created by importing, by this process occurring. This imports other declarations into this scope, right? So it's one of those. I mean, we could look at the identifier, right? So undoable data. So undoable, oh no, wait, what? Now I'm really confused. Oh. I'm really confused. Okay. I bet if I walk up and I look at what struct we are trying to size, that's what we're doing here. I bet it's not entity. I bet it's somebody who's using entity Let's look at that. Hold on. Hold on. So we're using a gem slot. Gem slot uses entity. Entity uses undoable to entity data. So something in this chain of multiple links is not occurring. Yeah, okay. This is even way less surprising because there was like a special case handler. Okay. The problem is not actually in the struct chain, I don't think. I mean, we can check that. But there's a special handler that's like, if you're using a parameter, This is complicated to explain. So when you're using a parameter that's or not even using, when you have a procedure, it's got a parameter that has a pointer to something, okay? In imperative languages like this, you want that to not require you to have completely compiled this struct. You don't need to know. If you insist, look, I'm not going to let anyone call this procedure, well, I'm not going to type check anyone's procedure call for this procedure until I know the size of this thing, okay? Then you'll have many, many programs that'll deadlock on themselves because, you know, mutual recursion can't get resolved and stuff, right? So in cases like this, we don't depend on this argument. We just say, like, look, there's a pointer to a struct. That's fine. All we need to know in order to do the type checking on this is whether something else is a pointer to this struct or compatible struct, right, or not. So that's fine. But because we're using it, right, this using here then means it gets inserted into the body. And when we're inserting that using into the body, we're not putting the dependency on the body. Like, if I do this, I mean, where can I feel like if I spot fix it here just to test my theory, we might get the same error message but generated at a different site. Like there's well, let me just that's a dumb place to use using anyway. It probably used to be a much bigger routine. Let me just see if that changes what happens. Whoops, that was the wrong program. Yeah, okay. So that is definitely a bug we need to fix. Let me write that down. But I would rather push onward and figure out this kind of a thing. Because this is the sort of thing that I've been trying to really focus on this whole time, is getting this correct. So now again, we've got this overload problem where we're not seeing the overload that we want to see, which is the same kind of thing that happens although this is very weird. This is very weird. Okay, no, you know what? I think this is actually... I want to question my theory about what happened with the other thing. So here what's going on is, it's not that it can't find the overload. I again jumped to conclusions from seeing the error message. It's got the right overload. In fact, there probably isn't an overload. It's probably just this procedure, okay? This is the right procedure, but it thinks these structs are incompatible. This thing wants a catalog base. It's given an animation names catalog. Well, in this case, how do you know if structs are compatible? It's if you're using a member like this. So it actually is that there's a problem with one of these usings failing. So I'm going to put this back for a bit. So maybe the problem isn't that we're not putting the dependency on the body. Maybe we are putting the dependency on the body, but the dependency doesn't reach all the way to the source struct because the chain is broken. That is my belief now about what's happening. What's going on in chat? People are talking about random programs. Yeah, what are you guys talking about? You hope they don't sacrifice performance and usability over features? Dude, the existing consoles are so ass slow, it's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. Including third-party programs like this one that are faster than the micro. Ugh. Sorry, I accidentally waved my window around and Windows decided that that means that I don't want any windows. Let me get all my work back here. Everybody's fired. I'm just gonna stop that rant. I'm just gonna stop that rant and I'm gonna program some more with a new iced tea. Like, I don't even know. Here's my new sub-minor rant. Like, every time in the chat for the past few days, everyone's been talking, like, gossiping about, oh, there's going to be a new console on Windows. Isn't that cool? That bothers me for so many reasons. First of all, I haven't even bothered to watch this trailer video that everyone's talking about. Like, look, you know this console sucks. You know it's going to be terrible. Like, why does anybody think it's not going to be terrible, first of all? Second of all, why have we sunk so low that it's somehow exciting that somebody made a different version of a command line where you type text characters and text characters get printed back to you? Like, how far has software and software development fallen to where that's even a notable thing? Like, why isn't that somebody that 50 people just did their own version of this past weekend, right? Why is this like some fucking giant Manhattan Project Battlestar Galactica like situation? What is wrong with people? I don't even know. I don't even know. Please add this to my talk about collapse of civilization. It might go. That's a good point. It's definitely on topic. Oh my God. I literally, I don't even understand why people find it to be worth commenting on, much less like thinking it's going to be good software. Like I just don't know. Like, dude, the command prompts that we have today are the same damn program that I was running in college in 1990. Okay? 1990. What year is it right now? It's 2020. Okay, that's 30 years. They're the same program except they're slower because those consoles ran on 1990s computers. Under X Windows, under X10, okay? These ones require supercomputers in order to scroll your text slowly. Like, what is wrong with everybody? Like, it's literally, the bad thing isn't that the current console that they've been shipping on Windows for a long time is bad, okay? That's a bad thing. It's also a bad thing that third-party versions like this one that I use, while better than the Microsoft one, are still frickin' terrible, right? The worst thing is that nobody thinks any of this is bad. The worst thing is that nobody thinks that the fact that it has to be some giant Manhattan project to have a program where you type text into a command line and it prints it back to you on a graphical screen in a reasonable amount of time, and that you can have programs that output a lot of text and that you don't like watch it scroll by in a really gummy way, that is some kind of amazing idea that takes a team of people like years of research. Like, what is wrong with the way that you program if that's what's going on? All right, let's get some context, okay? So, like, there's like video games that come out, right? Okay, here's one. I haven't played Battlefield that much, but here's somebody playing Battlefield Firestorm, all right?
So, got a chance.
Like, he's walking around, he's going through the sky, he's doing inventory. He's like, there's like fire, there's like trees, there's like buildings blowing up and shit. Okay, see this?
Squad bail out. And I go down, bleeding out.
Okay, it's violent. Maybe we shouldn't be showing our kids these things. But like, this runs at 60 frames per second or more.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? Beautiful. It's not good.
And let me just say, somebody who works on a text console for a living simply cannot imagine how complicated this program is or all the things that it successfully does. It's many orders of magnitude more complicated than drawing text on a screen, okay? You have no idea what is happening here. And it runs way faster than any console that I've ever seen on any modern operating system. Why? What the fuck is the problem, okay? Is nobody else seeing a problem? Does anybody get what I'm saying? It's so crazy.
It's
It is
fine.
so crazy that
Just sit in the
this
box
should
and-
be the news every day, that we can do stuff like this, but we can't put text on a screen in a competent way. That should be the news every day. Okay? For real, check out the presentation. The way they hype this stuff is hilarious. I'll probably get around to it, but like, oh my God. Like, seriously. Hey, like, look, there's like text on the screen here, okay? And like over the guys' heads, and the little violent video game kill feed that goes up. And there's probably player chat where you hit enter to chat to other players. So there's like a text console in here as like 1/1,000,000th of the functionality that this game actually does, okay? And yet we can't get an actual just regular console that actually works. Someone linked me the trailer. I will watch it later. I mean, what? I just can't. I'm literally speechless as to what else to say about this whole situation. I just don't know. I just don't know. They're working on getting characters appearing on the screen within 200 or 300 milliseconds now. Great. All right. End of rant. I just don't. I also don't know. So, like, while we're at it, all these fucking modern C++ people and stuff. I shouldn't be so rude. All of these modern C++ people, many of whom probably work at Microsoft for all I know. They go to these conferences and they argue about all these programming techniques, about how you exactly have to do all these things in order to make any program good. And like the programs that are actually being produced with these techniques are worse and worse. Like, how do you watch a video? How do you live in a world where like games like that run? And then you look at what you're able to type, and it's like some lines of text output by a program at 100 milliseconds per line. And you're like, how do you survive the cognitive dissonance of believing that you're a righteous code style warrior who does everything correctly and having results that are so bad while other people have results that are so good at the same time? How does your brain just not like explode like in scanners? I don't understand. I don't understand. You don't understand how I think the reason that MF's devs didn't write a console that is better is because they are unable to do it. Okay, no, this is actually a realization that I had lately, okay? I actually don't want to spoiler part of my collapse of civilization talk, but no, the reason actually is that they're unable to do it. If you look around, if you look around at a lot of the software that you see that's all buggy, There's all these excuses like, oh yeah, it's just, you know, the client won't pay for us to spend more time to get the bugs out or something. But if you've never seen anything different, if all a company has ever done is produce things that are buggy, why do you think they have the capability to do better? They don't. They don't. If you have never demonstrated a capability, you probably don't have it, okay? So I don't wish to pick on one company, but our entire society does not have the capability to produce working software right now, okay? I will go into that in much more detail in the actual talk. Do you have a chance to see a video from the conference? I believe they will video it. If not, I'll give it again later. But literally, it's not this excuse like, oh, people could do better, they just don't. Like, that's been sort of the implicit belief for a while, I guess. It's not true. They can't do it. They literally cannot do it, okay? Like, let's go back, lest you forget. Right? This is my implementation of how to find where Visual Studio is. It's 550 lines of code. It's way too complicated. It probably has a lot of bugs in it because it's complicated. This is the simplest way to find how to link against Visual Studio libraries. Microsoft's solution is an 8,000 line, 70 file standalone program, okay? They can't do better. They don't know how to do better. They have lost the context that it should be one line of code to ask where the Visual Studio files are. Like, why is asking the question, where are the Visual Studio files? Why is that a complicated question in the year 2020? Okay. Casey brought up a really interesting point, which is that most of the major technologies that Microsoft has introduced in the past several decades have been about naming things and finding those names, right? So like the registry is just a thing for finding values attached to names, right? COM, all this stuff is about looking up names. How can you have all these technologies for looking up names and it still takes 550 lines or 8,000 lines and 70 files and an external program to look up names? If the simplest thing that you want to do is that hard, how hard is it? Of course they can't make a console that draws text on the screen. That's like impossible. That's a giant Manhattan Project. Are you kidding me? Just looking up one question is 500 lines. Like, if somebody hasn't been following the stream all the time, which I'm sure many people haven't, look up this thing called VSWhere, right? VSWHERE. It's on GitHub. The goal of this program, this is Microsoft's program to tell you where the Visual Studio libraries live on your computer, okay? It is essentially a single key value query, or possibly two, right? Conceptually, right? Like if you just imagine that there was a thing called Visual Studio Location in the registry and you just ask for that. And if registry querying was reasonable, like you could write one line of code to query the registry, which you absolutely can't do. But imagine that you could. Yeah, no. Seriously, 8,000 lines, 70 files. And that was actually when I looked at it last, which was last year, almost a year ago. They've been working on this program. Look at this. There's updates. So is it 10,000 lines by now? I don't even know. It's probably not smaller. This is for something that should be like, 10 lines of code. End of rant. Okay, I'm going to go to work now. I was going to program, but I ranted instead of programming. Um, so, yeah, we're going to do more compiler streams when we come back. We're going to figure out why this dependency chain is not dependency chained and all sorts of good stuff like that. All right. This was a short stream. And you got rid of run test.bat. One can rely just on tests. Okay, cool. Right on. I am working on I started doing a major overhaul of, just for everybody's information, actually. I started doing a major overhaul of the way that features like using operate internally to the compiler, just to try to simplify them and make them more consistent. And it turned into a giant issue that was hard to program. And that was like several weeks ago. And then I went on vacation and then shifted my my time back to the game after that. So this has been sitting around waiting for me to finish it. And so last night and today we sort of started attacking this again. I don't think it's too far from being done, but there's a couple of little problems. I think we're down to the smaller problems. It's just these are not fun to debug. So yeah. So later today we will come back and we'll fix this. And then either we'll have another bug or we won't. We'll see how it's going. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming by. I'll see you later on.